Blood from Vault 18, Prologue. War never changes, makes a strong man weak and a poor man rich. The difference is decided by character, and if you don't think character is the only factor in deciding victory, then you have been playing the wrong game this whole damn. The world was playing the wrong game 200 years ago. Steps echoed in the hallway as a man walked between the lines of warriors that he had created. Everyone looked ready to fight like they had been trained to do, all but one. The boy felt cold sweat pour down his neck as his nerves began to get the best of him. The room he was in was dark, the atmosphere suffocating, and all he wanted to do was get out this place. The people from the past learned what it meant to be found faulty in character. Yes, for their failure? They became nothing more than wasteland of nuclear hellfire, and none of what remains out there is worth a damn. None outside have any idea of what it takes to bring the greatest nation on earth BACA to glory. But here, the man stopped in front of him, seeing if he flinched. A second felt like an eternity. Down here in Vault 18, you are going to learn everything you need to know about winning that war. Right here, right now, on this battlefield, the lights flickered on, blinding him momentarily. You are the last of America's finest men and women. You are on the A-list, the rest of those idiots are things of the past. Now is your time to get out there and show them that you have the character to bring America back to glory. Can I get a hurrah? All around him, his teammates yelled and clapped, compelled by the words he did not fully understand. But now the time for words seemed to have passed, and all that remained was the fight. I'm right. Now move out. He ran next with the others as they got into positions, their movements more coordinated than his as they had practiced more than him, but it did not matter. The roaring of the crowd around him filled him with one goal, to do his best. He might have been a last-minute addition, but he would show everyone just what he was made of. A shot was fired as the game began, and blood was spilled on the first second of the game as two teens crashed into one another, breaking one of their noses. Vault Ball, as it was called, was a tradition on the vault, but with the arrival of Coach Bragg, things had changed. It was faster, meaner, and a heck of a lot more painful. As the score tied and the blood on the ground began to stain the stadium, the game began to reach a fever pitch as neither team was willing to let the other win. It all came down to one play. One play, and all the struggle of the past months would be worth it. Both teams began to put their all into it, but the eagerness of his team, the Patriots, cost them dearly. The ball was launched high into the air as Johnny Matheson, a massive red head, slammed some poor bastard against the ground and made it seem like the barbarians were going to take it all for the first time. But for the boy, this was his chance. Running as fast as his legs would allow him, he jumped and grabbed the ball and made a run for it. All that was left was to get past the poster boy of the barbarians. Come get it, Johnny yelled as he charged at him. He could doge to the side, it would be the smartest solution. But just like his sister said, he was not the smartest in the Star family. Screaming as he tackled Johnny, he could hear his bones groan as he applied pressure against the other teen. It seemed like the struggle lasted a minute when, in reality, only a couple of seconds had passed. A loud crack echoed in the arena as Johnny fell to the ground screaming, his leg giving up on him. The other barbarians tried to stop him, but he was too far gone already, slamming the ball down and scoring the point the Patriots needed. The arena erupted in cheers as Kieran Starr allowed himself to smile. He was beyond exhausted, but he made it. Yes. That's it, kid, Coach Bragg yelled as his teammates put him on their shoulders. The barbarians glared at him and some girl, Jen, he could not quite see who it was, threw a kiss at him. But to Kieran, the arena felt empty. The seats where his brother and sister should be had been completely unoccupied since the beginning of the game. As the celebration ended, the coach put a hand around his neck as he congratulated. Now, that was not bad, kid. Look at you, the youngest, and the strongest, and the strongest. Ha ha ha, come to my office. I want to speak to you for a moment. Nodding, the kid took off his helmet and let some sweat fall from his dark hair into the ground bellow. He stabilized his breathing and smiled to himself. He had done it. But before he could really celebrate, he wondered why the coach wanted to see him. It's not like he had spoken to him all that much before, but he had very little to lose so. With that in mind, he entered the hallway that led to the office, and he knocked on the door. The inside of Coach Bragg's office was different than what Kieran expected, littered with many comics, books, and magazines. It looked more like the room Kieran had than the office of the fearsome Coach Bragg. The man in question sat on his chair and tossed him an ice-cold Nuka-Cola. That was the best play I've seen in years, kid. The entire vault is singing your praise this season. Well, not the barbarians, but who gives a crap about them. Looks like Bragg's Patriots are putting another trophy on the shelf, thanks to you, the coach said as Kieran smiled and enjoyed the drink. Thanks, coach. The coach, you know I am surprised by your performance today. Scoring the final touchdown of the season should land you almost any job you want. I'm surprised it took me so long to find a real star player. You know I was talking to Chevy up in the security department while we were watching the game, and she told me that those goddamn morons in the overseer's office actually want to put you to work in maintenance. Kieran nodded. Yeah, I got a wind of some of that. I can't say I am surprised. They don't really like me all that much because of, idiots. They don't know what kind of attitude you have. How would you like to work for Vault Security, kid? Kieran eyes widened as the juicy offer was presented to him. There was nothing better in Vault 18 than to work on Vault Security, with only the Wasteland scouts above them. Kieran nodded. I think I have what it takes to do that, sir. Coach Bragg smirked as he stood up. He flipped a couple of switches as a vigor tester machine came to life on the corner of his office. Brad pointed at the machine. Good. Now before I can do that star player. I just need to check some things before that. Elle just can't understand the animosity around you from some of the folks out here. You were born in the Wasteland from what I understand, but that doesn't explain they would not like you. What can you tell me about you? Kieran scratched the back of his head at the sensitive topic. There's not that much to tell. I lived here my entire life. I'm adopted like everyone else, and as for why people don't like me, well, I guess I did set the laboratory on fire that one time, hee. The teacher wanted to skin me alive and hang me from the vault door. Bragg hummed, strange. But at any rate, you've been raised by your fellow Americans, and at the end, that's all that matters. You hear me, son? Don't let any old fuck tell you otherwise. You see, kid, I'm starting to organize an after-school program for motivated athletes like yourself, and I like you to be there. I can see it in your eyes, kids, you want this bright future. But what if that future was threatened, son? Would you defend it? Yeah, absolutely. I owe it to my family, Brad nodded. Good answer. People like you and I have got to fall in and throw our weight. We can't let those above threaten our great vault and the America it represents. I want you to check just how ready you really are for this responsibility. Kieran nodded as he moved towards the machine. The machine was not all that hard to figure out. The machine printed out his information as Kieran raised an eyebrow at the stats. So how did it turn out, kid? Well, it says that I'm a strong athlete, Bragg nodded. Yeah, but we knew what else does it say? Kieran looked down at the information. It says I am right for leadership and have good mannerism. Bragg forced himself to not roll his eyes. So it does. Well, that's definitively a key factor and... Well, here, it says that I have the endurance it takes to keep my head in the game. Nice. Hey coach, why did we never take this test? Mine came out pretty cool. Bragg grinned as the last piece in his plan fell into place. The coach sat back down as he wrote something to his sister Chevy in Vault Security. All right, that convinced me. You're in the top of your class. Congratulations. How does it feel to skip ahead of those older than you? You know what, don't tell me now. Tell me when you come back dressed in that Vault Security uniform, son. Report to Chevy in the security office and have her issue you the best gear and post in the base. Who have earned it. Kieran felt excitement fill his heart as he only could nod in thanks. Right. Thanks, coach. I won't let you down. Good talk. The coach snorted. Yeah, right. Now get out of my office, punk ass. Kieran left in a hurry, excited to meet his new boss and claim the title that many could only dream of getting. Coach Brad dropped the smile as he moved towards the vigor tester machine. The kid was fucking stupid, there was no doubt about that. But he was a freak of nature. With the right push, the right incentive, Kieran Starr would make a damn fine Enclave soldier, and if he didn't, Brad chuckled as he looked at the clock. The night was still very young, and the plan was not yet in motion, but he could feel it. This vault was the big one. This vault would be the one that would burn and bring America back to glory. Chapter 1. Home Beneath the Earth. The door slammed shut behind him, the rush of the game still messing with his head. But excitement blossomed in his chest as he couldn't help but let out a soft, yes. As he patted himself on the back, none of the older teens paid him any mind, too busy with speaking with their crushes or just fooling around with their friends. It was a time for celebration after all. Kieran wanted to join them, as some waved at him. But he had to go to the security office, and there was no one who would be able to stop him. Hey there, Tiger. Care to give me all the juicy details about the game, unless your name was Jen Hale? The blonde beauty leaned against the wall as she smiled up at him. So how about it, Hotshot got some time for me? Kieran smiled. You know that, for you, Jen, I got hours. The girl giggled as she wrapped her arms around him to pull Kieran into a hug. You always know how to make me feel special. I just have this thing going on and I wanted to know if you would join me later in my room, the girl said as she grinned at him. It took all the willpower in his body to knot into a tomato. He thanked the heavens that his pale skin was still flushed by the physical exertion from the game, because he did feel his cheeks heat up a bit. And, by the way, she smiled. Jen had noticed it too. Laughing a bit, he brought a hand to his chin. I don't know, baby, there's just so much other fun stuff to do in the vault. I heard that there are some giant bugs in hydroponics. Jen smacked him on the arm as she fake pouted. Kieran placed a hand on her shoulder and gave her a genuine smile. Don't worry, Jen, I will be there. You know that whenever you need me, I will be there. Maybe it was his wishful thinking, but he swore that her cheeks were decorated by pink for a brief moment. I knew I could count on you. He'll be waiting for you, don't make me wait long. Oh, by the way, tell your sister that it was a real bitch move to not be here tonight. God, it's your brother that fills her head with stupid ideas, and if you don't tell her, I will. Jen waved as she left towards the lower apartments. Kieran let out a sigh as he rubbed the back of his head. Sean? Yeah, he knew he was slightly jealous, but he didn't think he would go as far as to convince Mandy to not come here. But those were problems for another day. The night had just started, and he had things to do. First on his list was to go to the security office, and last was to kick his brother's ass all the way back to the computer lab. The stadium began to become deserted, as most people went to the mess hall or to their rooms to celebrate one way or another. Kieran was just about to leave when he spotted a loon figure sitting in a bench. Jamie Campbell, he knew her. They were friends in a way. Kieran got along better with her kind of brother Eric, even if he hadn't time to hang out with him in recent, and all those rumors about them began to spread around. Letting out a sigh, he put his trip to the office on hold again as he approached the outcast of his team. Hey there, little buddy. You sure showed that Johnny what was good. You saved the game with that play, Jamie said excitedly. Kieran chuckled a bit at her enthusiastic tone. Well, it was about time someone beat him up. He did leave me one hella bruise. I just hope he just doesn't kick my ass when I am not ready. Oh, and don't make it sound like you didn't do anything. You're part of the team too, you know. Jamie laughed as she stood up and slapped him on the back. Yeah, maybe, but I was just admitted on the team not so long ago. But hey, you know what you should do right now? Come celebrate with Eric and I know you would love it. I just acquired the special ingredient for the drinks. Jamie wiggled her eyebrows at him as Kieran paled. Oh god, no. I'll pass. If it can make you drunk, then it must be rocket fuel or some shit like that. Jamie laughed at him as she nodded. You bet. Well then I guess I'll see you when I see you. Kieran looked from the corner of his eye as some people whispered behind the back of the girl. Seems like things were just getting worse for her, family. Things to deal another time, and now he was back on the main quest, finally leaving the gymnasium and walking into the vault. Proper Kieran avoided the large groups of people as he took small shortcut to the office. Passing by the laundry and cutting to the right, he got to the main office in no time. The halls around him seemed to get smaller as the cameras all locked on him. Swallowing his nervousness, he took some tentative first steps into the office. The security personnel too busy to notice him, or simply ignoring the kid with the vault ball outfit. Wondering who he had to talk to about this from out of nowhere, nay of the guards approached him. The man with the mustache smiled at him. Oh, hey there. I assume you're here to see Chevy, right? Yes, sir. Is she busy? The guard that Kieran felt embarrassed about not knowing his name nodded happily. Sure, I'll let you in into her office, come on. Kieran's eyes widened as the door opened and a wall of guns greeted him, assault rifles, 10mm pistols, along with submachine guns all on the desk as a lone figure inspected the weapons. Mistress? The kid that your brother... A hand was raised as Chevy turned around. She looked at Kieran up and down, then turned to her subordinate. I know. I'll take it from here. The man nodded as he nervously moved outside the door. Oh, of course, mistress. Kieran tried his best to not raise an eyebrow at all. The mistress comments he did not want to know what his superiors did on their spare time. Chevy glared at him with her one eye as she scratched the area around her eye patch. You got here on time. Good. John informed me about your little visit, but I prefer to things more through what's-your-name recruit. Kieran, Mom. The intimidating woman nodded as she began to circle him. And why is it that you want to join Vault Security? Kieran remembered his talk with the coach as he tried to put some of that to use here. To better serve my country and defend my vault, Mom. This answer seemed to satisfy Chevy as she moved back towards her desk and began to assemble a 10mm pistol. Well spoken, you meet my expectations. I'll issue you your armor and sidearm. Be prepared to start questions in the morning. Do you have any questions for me? I don't have to attest or something, you can admit me just like that? Chevy did not turn to look at him, more preoccupied with the weapon on her hand. I know a soldier when I see one, even when they don't know it themselves. Im and bot simply a security officer. I am a lieutenant. When it is time to fight, my place is beside my men, making sure that they suffice. If I haven't done well in teaching them to listen, then I will fail in that mission too. She finished the maintenance of the gun, holding it to her side. What have you learned of me so far, Kieran Starr? Kieran looked down at his feet as he tried to think of what to say. You're more thoughtful than others. I think, cautious in a way. This seemed to intrigue the woman as she stared at him with curiosity, waiting to see what more the young man could perceive. But instead of going further, Kieran simply smiled and shook his head. I think it would be best if I don't pry that much into my superiors, Mom. That is all I have learned from you so far, Mom. He finished saying, hiding the fact that he really did not see anything else. He was not that perceptive, as people seemed to think. But to Chevy, those words seemed to be what she wanted to hear. The woman handed him the gun and gave him a smile that made him shiver. Well spoken, I give you the opportunity to see more, and yet you fall in line instead. That's a fine trait to have, soldier. We all follow orders without question if we want to survive. You'll begin your training tomorrow morning, but you have impressed enough that I may send you back to John. I know he would like to see you again after what you achieved here. You gained his favor, and that means you have earned some of mine. After all, he is a hard man to reach out to. Understood. Thank you for this opportunity, ma'am. I won't let you down. I'll see you tomorrow morning, Kieran said as he walked out of her office. The other members of the security office handed him his uniform, leaving without another word. Kieran couldn't help but grin as he walked into one of the bathrooms to change into the outfit. Sure, he wasn't officially part of them yet, but he just wanted to try it on and see how it felt. Looking into a mirror, he pulled out his gun from its holster and pointed at the mirror. Chuckling, he let out a sigh. Man, I'm glad that no one is around. Looking down at his Pip-Boy, he noticed how it was still pretty early, so might as well grab something to eat. He was feeling pretty energized after all. Whistling as he went, Kieran got to the big building in the middle of the vault, which worked as both cafeteria and a computer lab. He always envied the nerds. They could just walk a couple of steps and get food while he had to run all the way from one side of the vault to the other to pick up the leftovers until the machine made more. Oh, they left a burger! Kieran smiled as he picked up the synthesized food and one of a bottle of water. The entire cafeteria was full, everyone loudly chatting away the night. Even though he did recognize a couple of faces, he wanted to avoid them for now. What with his new job and all some of Bragg's past favorites might not welcome, not that they gave a shit. But still, he did not want to be where he wasn't accepted, so instead he looked around for a more deserted area of the cafeteria, spotting a somewhat familiar face. He walked up to the table. Hey there, Ben. Seat taken? The boy named Ben looked up and smiled. Oh, hey, congrats on the big win. Sure, I was just, drawing, taking a seat. Kieran dug into his food, looking at what the drawings he spoke in between bites. Fucking sweet dude. That looks like a comic. I love those kinds of things. Hey, weren't you part of the team or something? I remember seeing you in training that one time. Ben looked uncomfortable as he continued drawing. Yeah, I was. Coach Bragg kicked me out of the team, said I was a freak or something. Oh, I'm sorry too. Ben shook his head. Nah, it's cool. No need to apologize. I got my own things going on. Kieran was quick to change the subject, pointed at the comic. Yeah, those are pretty cool. Big monsters and a hero fighting them off doesn't get better than that. Ben nodded happily as he moved the comic towards Kieran. Thanks. See here, the name of the main character is Kurt's Right, and he fights this green monsters that attack his village, and... Kieran nodded as he let Ben explain the backstory of his comic. Dude was creative. He would give him that. It was a nice little story, even if Kieran felt that Ben had just modeled the main character after him. A loud bang echoed upstairs, and a set of curses interrupted the piece. Ben frowned. Oh, it's Kieran for his part. Kieran, for his part, hummed as he looked towards the computer lab as some smoke began to appear, taking his last bite and cracking his neck. Kieran gave a nod to Ben. All right, have a good night, dude. I will. Go see what Kira is up to now. It had been years since he had stepped into the computer lab. If he remembered correctly, he had somehow managed to kick a soccer ball all the way over here. He was just glad that the one in charge of this place, Dr. Rossman, never found out about the little incident. And it was all thanks to one girl. Stupid piece of, come on. The said girl in question slammed her palm against the side of a machine. More smoke came out as she returned to her notes. Kieran coughed into his fist, making the girl look up and frown at him. Can I help you? Kieran shook his head. Nah, I was just walking and decided to, returning to her work. The girl frowned at him. What come bother me? I didn't invite you here for a chat, did I? Get out of here. Kieran let out a sigh. He knew this was going to be difficult, but man, this was just ridiculous. Come on, Kira, I just want to see how you're doing. We haven't talked in months, and I am little worried. I am not the bad guy here. Maybe, but that doesn't change the fact that I am working here and you're interrupting me, Kira said as she tried to restart the sequence. Kieran looked at the machine and hummed as if he knew what he was seeing. It was a mess of cable, but he hoped his luck would help him. Maybe it has something to do with the plasma core. The purple-haired girl stopped her work as she stared at him like he was a dumbass. Really? The plasma core? Kieran looked to the side. I hope it helps. For a luff, maybe, but yeah, maybe it does. Has something to do with the reactor. Not just the plasma core that does not exist. Not bad, you certainly have improved ever since the last session. Kieran smiled. What I can say, you are a great tutor. Kira looked away as she tried to find a way to respond to him. Well, thanks, I guess. Look, thanks for coming all this way to check up on me, but I am fine. You can leave now. I doubt you can help anyways. Kieran faked a gasp as he leaned on her workbench. And what would it be the thing I cannot help with? I'm feeling quite lucky today, so how about you give me a chance? Why? Why do you want to help? Kieran let out a sigh. Because you're my friend? Why else? You might not want to admit it, but we are buddies, and damn it, I won't let one of my friends alone with their problems. Oh, fine, I'll let you help. I need information for the terminals. They are cataloged in tiers and will need all of your scientific knowledge to even begin to decipher. Oh, and you need Rossman's approval to use them, who by the way hates your guts thanks to your brother. Good luck, Kieran. Kira said as she gave him a cruel smile which slightly faltered as she watched his new outfit. Kieran smiled. Looks good on me, huh? Kira snorted at him. What stole them from some abandoned locker you found? If I were you, I would not be carrying that around. You might get in trouble. That's the thing, Kira. I got the job. Knee. Before any of the older ones could even graduate, I managed to grab a post in vault security. Feel bad for the poor fucker that's going to have to work in maintenance instead of me, but May details. Kira looked at him with a raised eyebrow. You with a job? Let's see how long it takes for you to bitch and complain about it, but for what's worth, it's good to see that finally there's someone in vault security that is not a complete fuck-up. Aw, I knew you cared, Kira. I'm going to find Dr. Rossman. See you in a bit. As Kieran left, he failed to notice how the cheeks of Kira colored slightly pink as she let out a sigh of relief as he left. Not good. This is not good. Fuck, I thought I got over it, was all she muttered as she distracted herself from these thoughts by working again on the machine. Kieran hummed as he walked out of the cafeteria and looked around. If I was a doctor, where would I be? Snapping his fingers, he began to walk towards the medical facility. He never went there because whenever he got hurt, it was never anything serious, and cuts and bruises on him healed insanely quickly, so he only visited for shots and checkups. But it was still as cold as he remembered. The nurse handy was still there along with the huge scanners, but not Dr. Rossman, or anyone for that matter. Letting out a sigh, he was getting ready to leave when he was pushed against the wall by an irate Johnny. You motherfucker. What the hell were you doing on that field? You broke my fucking leg. Kieran pushed Johnny off him, sending tumbling away from him. Knock it off, Johnny. You also kicked my ass, and I didn't mean to injure you like that. Bullshit. I bet fucking Bragg told you to bust my ass on purpose to make his Patriots look good. We're the fucking B team he uses as target practice. Kieran simply raised an eyebrow. What? I barely talked with the guy. I just, wanted to win, hee. This made Johnny shake his head. I don't believe jack shit of this. You weren't even on team until like a fucking day. Oh shit, you might be right. Well then, I guess I am a little sorry then, but I hope you know that gun-toting blowhard is just using you right. He won to rig the Overseer's election, and what do I find? One of his fucking cronies running around somewhere he is not supposed to be, Johnny said as he cracked his knuckles to look threatening. It did not help that he was limping, or that he looked like he might pass out if someone sneezed on him. But this was news to Kieran. Sure, he knew he was running for Overseer, but he never thought that Bragg would try to rig the election. Kieran just raised his arms in mock surrender. Look, I really don't know, man. And if what you say it's true, it sounds awful, and I want no part in it, Oak. Johnny glared, but then dropped the act and sat on one of the medical legs. Well, now I feel like a dick. How about this? Sorry for trying to jump all over you, and now we are even. I'm sick of being treated like I am basement dweller. Oh, and if I hear that you actually have been helping Bragg for real, I'll kick your ass. Kieran nodded. Sure, hope that leg gets better. Have you seen Dr. Rossman? No, now fuck off and let me rest. So, back to square one then, he could always just tell Kira that he did not find him. But if he was being honest, he felt bad for her and didn't want to let her down, so might as well search the entire vault for the old man. His luck seemed to kick in as he spotted the doctor walking out of the administration office, Dr. Rossman. The old doctor turned to see who was calling to him, and Kieran noticed the frown that formed on his face. Shouldn't you be celebrating your victory, kid? Poor Johnny is going to need more stim packs and med-X because of you. Sorry for causing trouble. I was hoping to speak to you about something. I mean, if you have the time and everything. The doctor let out a sigh. Yeah, sure. I just got done turning in my report and I plan to go to bed. But if it's something urgent, I guess I can listen. Kieran chuckled as the doctor felt his frown deepen. Is not something serious, huh? No, not really. I was helping out Kira with something, and she mentioned something about terminals and scientific knowledge, I think. But I can't say that I know how computers work. Rossman hummed as the frown disappeared off his face. So this is for helping Kira. I thought you wanted to bother me with an actual stupid question. Sure, kid, you can use the computers in Maria. The password is here. Oh, and how good are you with computers? I can't say that they are that great, but it doesn't matter. I just want to help Kira, that's all, maybe put her mind at ease for a bit, Kieran said as the doctor looked at him for a moment. You? Yeah, sure. Come on, kid, I will unlock the terminals for you and you can go ahead and read them. I don't think you of all people need to know science, but I think it's sweet that you want to help the girl out. If it helps to bring in more smart people to the world, I would just do about anything. Kieran did a double take. Does he thinks I want to now? That can't be it. So, how is Mandy doing in her classes? Kieran asked. To ease the tension, the doctor smiled at the name. Mandy, such a bright student. She's doing just fine. Finally, we are going to have a new doctor around. I hope that means I won't get pulled from my actual work to fix some punk kid who got beat up in one Bragg's stupid games. Kieran laughed a bit. Yeah, she's so smart. I'm glad she is doing fine. Your brother is doing fine too, if that interests you. It was time for this topic. It does. But he doesn't like when I poke my nose into his things, so I just try to stay out of his way so then I don't have to deal with more. Rossman stopped walking as he looked troubled. Is everything ok-doc? The old man let out a sigh. Yeah, it's fine, just thinking of the past. Even if he says he doesn't want you to, you should still ask. Sean is probably just dissatisfied with the way you handle things. If you took the role of older brother, then you can't play favorites, kid? Kieran let out a sigh. Damn, maybe it is my fault, but fuck me, he could try to help me out here. I am not fucking omniscience, he thought as they entered the computer lab. The doctor sat down as he wrote down a myriad of passwords and numbers on the screen. Hold on, I set this thing up so that people would practice here. But it turns out I might have done it too hard. There we go. Tier 1 and 2 terminals unlocked. Now I am really going to bed, kid. See you around. The doctor left quickly. He seemed to be deep in thought. That or Kira was right, and Dr. Rossman really hated his guts. Sean must have talked a lot of shit to the old man. But now was not the time for that. Terminals had been unlocked, and now to check on Kira, the purple-haired girl gave him a grin as Kieran walked back into her small corner of the lab. Look at that. Is Mr. Popular ready to throw in the towel? Tier 1 and 2 terminals unlocked. It was that easy, Kieran said as he dusted the imaginary dust off his shoulders. Kira rolled her eyes. Bullshit. Look here, it says. Oh my god, you actually did it. Pal? No way. Did you get Sean to this for you? Because if he is around here, I don't want him near me. Kieran chuckled. Easy there. It was all me. That, and I asked Dr. Rossman to help me because I am complete dumbass when it comes to technology, but still, I got the job done. Yeah, no kidding. I never was able to get past the Tier 1 terminals, and you know what, it's my fault. I never asked Dr. Rossman for help. Thank you, I really mean it. Kira rubbed her elbow as she tried to find the word she wanted to say. I guess I did miss. Having someone that know what he is doing? What you mean me? Karen asked jokingly. Kira rolled her eyes, but a smile did form on her lips. Shut it, you know what I mean. I guess that means you're leaving, huh? Karen was indeed planning on leaving. He still had to talk to Jen. Even his nervousness wanted him postpone it for a bit. But then again, it was not that late. What? No way, we have just unlocked a precious landmine of information and even more important, juicy gossip. What do you say? Want to go take a look? Kira grinned as she happily guided him to the monitors. Come on then. Let's see what they got hiding in those terminals. Don't bother with the Tier 1 terminals. I already got through most of those. Kieran nodded as he tried to find anything of note in the terminals. Images and reports from the Wasteland scouts consisted most of the data, along with some commentary on some vault residents. Holy shit, that's a lot, MedX. No wonder Johnny hurts like a bitch, right? It's a miracle you managed to actually hurt him. Kieran smiled. Aw, so you did pay attention to the game. Kira looked away as she focused on a terminal. On a vault. Small as this is impossible not to hear things. Don't think you are special, Kieran. Now that is interesting. Hey, do you know anything of the place they picked us up from before we were adopted? Kieran said as Kira quickly moved to his side and stared at the screen. No way, this is it. This is what I was looking for. Holy shit, our tribe. Chiron frowned as he read more of the report. So these, well, raiders, I guess, have an empire? Man, the Wasteland really is full of shitty people. Huh, thank God we have the vault. Not everyone is having a good time on the vault, Kira said. As Kieran frowned as the incident came back to haunt him for a bit, Jen was wrong in sticking her nose in that fiasco. Feeling like it was best to leave now, Kieran coughed into his fist, making Kira look at him. Well, I hope I was able to help a little bit here. I think I need to get going. I have to. Talk with the family? Kira nodded, a little saddened that he was leaving. Oh sure, I will stay. Kira felt herself being pulled into a hug as Kieran smiled down at her. Turning crimson, she slammed her fist into his chest. Let me go, Ashel. Maybe, but only after you said thank you. Kira frowned as her heart almost punted out of her chest. When the fuck did you get so tall? Fine, thank you, Kieran. I really mean it. Sure thing. See you tomorrow, Kira, who know I might get assigned to watch the computer lab. Kieran waved as he looked down at his Pip-Boy. It was getting late. Better check what Jen wanted after he dropped his things at home. Unlike the upper apartments where most of the people in the vault lived, that had most commodities one could expect from a luxurious hotel. The lower apartments were repurposed rooms from when the vault had more people. His room, if he was not mistaken, was used at one point for storage of medicine. He even found a secret stage of buff-out, but that was his little secret. Opening the door to his home, Kieran was surprised when a small figure leaped at him. Why, it's our hero. You are fantastic out there. Great job. Mandy Starr, his little sister said as she hugged him tightly. Yeah, congrats. Shame we couldn't be there. From the other side of the room, Sean said as he barely looked up from his board game or whatever he was doing. To Kieran's surprise, the son of the overseer was also with him. But Sean, I thought we were going to fake it. Oops. Kieran let out a sigh as he returned the hug. Yeah, don't worry. I noticed you guys were not there. No need to apologize, Mandy. Kieran hugged her back as she let out a sigh. Sorry, WE really wanted to be there, but with all the tests that are going on and, sorry. Nah, it's fine, I don't mind, I would have liked if you were there, Mandy. But I can see that you guys already had a party going on, so no need to worry. I also don't know if you can tell, but I got a job now. Sean actually looked away from his game. Wow, how did you get with Vault Security? I just happened to be the star player, Kieran said as he smugly pointed at himself with his thumb. Sean snorted as he returned to the game. If you say so, dude, Mandy clapped happily. That's great news. Tell you what, tomorrow I'll cook something to celebrate, after exams that is. Dr. Rossman is cramming everything into this exam, she complained as the tension dissipated from the room. Kieran moved to the kitchen as he looked at the table where the board game was and realized that he couldn't make heads or tails of what the fuck was going on there. So, what the fuck is that game about? Oh, Sean said, surprised at the attention. Well, is about this world, where robots are all over the world, they have sentience and thoughts. But the thing is not, all robots are good or serve mankind. Kieran looked at the paper sheets and the minifigures. But then why do you need the… Sean laughed and shook his head. Do you clearly don't get this shit? Just go rub in the fact that you won a trophy to the bugs under your bed or something. Whatever, I got some stuff to do. I'll be back in a bit, Mandy, Kieran said, rolling his eyes. So much for trying to reach out to Sean. Feeling tired, he considered just hitting the hay for today, but he promised Jen he would go see her, and there was something in the air that he could not quite tell why, but the air around him began to get colder. The night seemed to drag on. Chapter 2, Rude Awakening. So you here to see my daughter? Vault 18 did not have many people that Kieran would call scary, but if there was one group of people that earned his respect and fear, it was the Wasteland Scouts. More specifically, the man that stood before him, Yeti Hale, the most famous of the group. Kieran simply nodded. Yes, sir. Can I please come in? Kieran smiled politely with no fear. It wasn't like he was the one that insisted. Jen was the one that wanted to see him, and if it was so important, then she would have to convince her dad. The man glared at the teen for a minute. I suppose I could let you into my house. We do need more children in the vault. Excuse me, sir, Kieran said dumbly, making the taller man laugh. I am just messing with you, kid. He wrapped an arm around him and pushed Kieran inside the room. Two young kids played around the TV as the mother of the house quietly read a book. From the other side of the room, Jen looked mortified as Kieran waved awkwardly at her dad. Why? Was the only thing she managed to mutter. Her father chuckled softly. Oh, come on now. We all have a duty to this vault. You know, Jen, and sometimes… Jen raised her hand to stop him and grabbed Kieran's arm to drag him to her room. Oh, Dad, that's enough. Privacy mode engaged. I just want to talk to him about some things. Kieran swore he saw Yeti snicker as his wife tried to hide her giggles. Now in her room, Jen let out a sigh and looked at him apologetically. Sorry, don't worry. We don't have to make babies if you don't want to, she said with a small smirk. I wouldn't mind that, honestly. Kieran grinned, but his face changed a bit as he narrowed his eyes at Jen. Is everything okay, Jen? Look, if it's those assholes again, I can beat them up, no problem. Jen smiled sadly. No, they have left me alone. I guess they got bored after I kind of just hid away. Seems like I am just good at that. Kieran, have you ever noticed how Bragg used those bullies for his team? They are in his team, and it even has to do with what I want to talk to you about. Jen leaned towards his ear. Bragg has a list. I heard him and his sister speaking about it. I was on the B team, but my family, he said they were on the bottom of the barrel. I am worried, Kieran, and you are. His favorite right now, so I was hoping. Say no more, I got this. Just like that? Kieran gave her a small smile. I trust you, Jen. You're one of the few who always had my back. I will go and see what this is all about, knowing Bragg is just some mumbo-jumbo about games and stuff. He and his sister are a bit, scary at times, but I really don't think it's anything malicious. I'll be back in a bit. Kieran left in a hurry as Jen could only smile as she brought a hand to her heart. From the corner of her eye, she spotted her father move towards her. He has a good heart, Jen. Poking around Brad might be a bad idea, I know his type. Dad, I told you to not listen in. Yeti did not even try to look apologetically about the fact. Look, when your boyfriend comes back, I want to talk to him. I got a bad feeling about this entire thing. The election, the game, everything. Yeti said as he closed his eyes and tried to think of better times, when it was just him and his friends helping the vault and trying to find something of worth on the old world. Kieran darted from the lower apartments towards the main area. From the corner of his eye, he spotted how most people seemed to be moving back towards their rooms, the celebrations dying down and most of the guards preparing themselves for the night shift. Man, I hope I get the early shift, Kieran muttered to himself as he spotted his target, seated 9 by himself in a corner with Nuka-Cola as his drink of choice, giving him a quick glance. Bragg raised an eyebrow at him. Shouldn't you be in bed, Star Player? Said Star Player gave him a nod. I should, but I wanted to thank you for your advice, Coach. I'm part of Vice Coach. They even gave me a gun and everything. Bragg nodded. Good. Make sure to be sure for anything, soldier. But now, that was not the only thing you came here for, right? What? Kieran shrugged. He was already being read like a book, so he went with the honest answer. Well, I heard that there's a list, one where the most important people in the vault are, and I wanted to get in it. Bragg's expression changed as he motioned for the kid to sit down. Kieran did so, and the moment he did, Bragg leaned in closer and lowered his voice to almost a whisper. Listen very carefully. The master list is not something to be talked like that. I know some of the kids like to speak a little too much, but you're not like them. Are you star player? Where did you hear this? Shifting uncomfortably, Kieran looked to the side. I was walking back to my room. I passed by the laundry, and I heard whispers that sounded like a girl. Bragg narrowed his eyes. Well, the master list is not that important. It's just on where people rank in terms of importance. Those capable enough or with the right attitude are on the A tier, your tier. As for the rest, well, I don't think I need to tell you that this vault is in need of new blood. Kieran let out a sigh. You can tell me about it. Seems like everyone is afraid of change, the young vault dweller said as he put on an act. Sure, he might feel like the people in the vault threatened his family and him like shit, but it was still his home and he wouldn't do anything against it. But his comment made Bragg relax, so he relaxed as he passed the small test that the coach put him through. Tell me about it, kid. That's why I'm running for overseer. We can't let this bastards drag this great vault into nothing. It would be a big disservice for those that died so that they could all live their cozy lives. Kieran tilted his head to the side. You mean America? Yes, I do, and I am glad that you pay attention to the broader picture. America. Oh, that's big speak right there. Kieran did not see why it was big talk, but he nodded nonetheless. And that's why you are running for overseer. Do you think you can bring it back? Bragg smiled. I don't think, son. I will bring it back tomorrow. You'll see what happens when we really kick into gear. You better get to bed now, soldier. Dismissed. Another test. Kieran could see it in his coach's eyes that he was testing him again. So for now, all he could do was nod and give a small salute. Yes, sir. Bragg grinned content as the natural-born soldier walked away with a lot on his mind. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted the rest of his team handing each other baseball bats and other shady-looking stuff. Walking back to the lower apartments, he knocked on the Jen's door. It was answered by Yeti again. You look tired, son. I am, sir. Would you mind telling Jen that the list she heard about is just a health, or at least that's what I understood that it was? Yeti nodded. Sure, kid. So you talked to Bragg then? I did, and I don't know what to think honestly. If you don't mind, sir, I think I am going to bed. See you around. Kieran marked the last thing on his list as complete and headed to his room. The cold corridors of the lower apartments made him shudder as something in the air made him feel uneasy, as if something was watching him from the cameras. As she entered his house, he spotted the game was still going on, but he did not feel like talking to his brother or the son of the overseer, but he did walk to tap Mandy on the shoulder. Hey, don't stay up too late, Mandy. Exams and all that? The redhead nodded as she leaned into him for a bit for a small hug. Are you okay? You look tired. I guess everything just piled up. That's all. Have a good night, Mandy. Kieran did not know why, but he held tightly to Mandy and planted a soft kiss on her forehead before he left. The act confused the girl, her brother never giving her more than a half hug in the recent years. Maybe things would change tomorrow? All of them getting closer as a family. As the vault fell into silence and darkness consumed most of the large structure, most of the vault dwellers did not realize that some doors remained unlocked. Vault security did not question why most of the old guard was granted the day shift, and as the machine finished counting the votes, the fate of the Vault 18 was written into the canvas of history. Now you boys play this one real close to the vest. The overseer won't know what hit him if we do this right, a cold voice said as the grunt reloaded their weapons and finished putting on their new uniforms, proudly displaying the Enclave symbol on their backs. Colonel Bragg grinned as the new soldiers displayed their uniforms to his side. Lieutenant Chevy looked down at her pit boy. The president has just sent the word. We need to secure this vault now. Seems like the stars aligned for this. Bragg frowned. That Henry really has a sense of timing, but it doesn't matter. We have all the charges set up to kill most of our enemies before they even know it. I expect little resistance. Tell Mason to pull the trigger. Chevy raised an eyebrow at him. Oh? You're not going to warn some of the potential recruits? Not even him? If he really is worthy of servant the United States, then he will survive and then come to us. The Enclave has no need for weaklings. Chevy nodded as she sent the word to detonate the generators, and with it wipe out most of the lower apartments. A simple push of a button was all it took for the inside of the vault to be consumed with flames and melted steel. Those that died instantly were the lucky ones. Those that survived the explosion screamed in agony as fire burned them to the bone. Few managed to crawl away from the flames as Vault 18 descended into madness. The pipes shattered as water from all over helped to stop the inferno. Soft drops of water awoke a burnt body along the rubble. The figure groaned in pain as it began to slowly crawl out of the destroyed rubble that was once his home. Its skin was red and black, the bone completely visible in some areas of the body. The body struggled to make noise as his throat was full of blood and bile coughing it slowly. The skin began to heal, and the body itself was repaired. Kieran was not conscious, his body going on autopilot as it healed its user from what would have been to a normal creature assured death. As his breathing stabilized and his brain began to regain its power, Kieran gasped as he finally awoke from Gist's nightmare. Gay. To what? He groaned as he struggled to get to his feet, blood all over him as he struggled to get to his feet. His eyes refused to work as all around him flashes of red and white made him dizzy. Stumbling like a child, Kjorn felt himself shiver. Mandy, are you okay? Silence was the only thing that answered him. Now worried adrenaline began to circulate his system as fear began to take control of his body. Clandy. Kjorn called out again to the same result, silence. His vision began to clear as he tried to find his sister. Running into her room, he found it deserted. Shit, he muttered. As she remembered that they were playing the stupid game in the living room, so bolting from that room to the next, Kjorn forced the door open and felt his hand bleed as the metal sank deep into his skin, subduing the need to scream from the pain he felt in hands. The young vault dweller struggled to see between all the smoke and debris, but he did spot a ruined guitar near what he assumed was a sofa, and dread began to set in as he walked slowly towards the destroyed musical instrument. Mandy? He called out softly as he moved the sofa to the side. Mandy was a mess of blood and guts. Half of her face was missing, peeled away by the explosion. Her body was torn, and her organs spilled on the floor. Kjorn felt his world shatter as he held the corpse of his sister. No, this can't be happening. Kjorn cried as he felt tears begin to fall down his face. Tika forward. Dodd Kia, soft murmurs from behind him, made Kjorn turn his head as he spotted his brother reach out to him. But Kjorn could not tear himself away from his sister. Maybe there was something he could do to save her still. The silence lasted seconds as his brain denied the answer before his eyes. Please, Hia. The roof fell on Sean as Kjorn cursed, trying to dig him out of the rubble. Blood grazed his fingertips as brain matter came into view. Kjorn jumped away from the sight as he tried to hold the wave of nausea that hit him. Fuck, Shaunawan. I'm so sorry. The boy felt crushed as he sobbed into his hands. He had failed as an older brother. Gunshots and screams of pain reached his ears, grabbing the small guitar necklace on what remained of his sister's neck and putting it around his own. His brain shut down and his body went on autopilot, so he did what he always did. He tried to help. Don't make me shoot you, kid. Please don't do this. Slamming the door open, Kjorn walked out like a man possessed and looked at the scene, playing a security officer coughed up blood as a shot landed directly on his throat as the last guard made a final stand against the unseen assailants. From the smoke and fire, two figures emerged, the white insignia of the Enclave shining on their chest. So you survived then. Rag requires you to come with us, Kjorn, one of the figures said as he began to recognize them. They were his teammates from the vault game. Kjorn heard the guard next to him prepare his weapon, leave him alone. There was a soft click as the two guys raised their weapon to shoot, and Kjorn made his choice. He jumped, scaring the guard, and ran towards the two. In his surprise, one of the Enclave soldiers fired accidentally, the bullet sinking deep into Kjorn's flesh. Slamming his fist into the jaw of one of the Enclave recruit, Kjorn knocked him to the ground and turned to the one that had shot him. Look, man, I am sore. Kjorn screamed as he slammed the head of his teammate against the wall, a large spot of blood on the now crimson wall. Grabbing the knife he had dropped, Kjorn took a step back. If any of you fuckers get up, I swear I will kill you, traitor. How dare you betray your own country? The first guy he had punched said as he wiped his mouth and grabbed his 10mm pistol and aimed. Kjorn reacted and sunk the knife on the guy's forehead, the skull cracking and the blood pouring out like a fountain. He had killed him. Kjorn took some steps back and started to breathe heavily. He brought a hand to his mouth as his tears began to fall. He had killed someone. A classmate, someone who he had shared laughs with in victories. Ooh. Bang. Jumping in shock, Kjorn looked back as the security guard lowered his gun and grimaced. You forgot about the other one. God, I just shot that kid. Kjorn, get over here. Kjorn looked to the side as he watched the blood pool beneath the man he had assumed was out cold. Still shaking, he walked over to the guard and was met with a slap to the face. Listen here, kid, we are under attack. These bastards are destroying the vault. Get your shit together. We need to get everything under control. I'm looking for survivors, but I got shot in the leg and I don't think I will be able to move that much. Kid, I need you to check every room here and then head to the upper apartments. We have to regroup and fight back. Kjorn numbly nodded as he moved without thinking, his eyes searching for anything as he tried to forget what he did to another human being. Soft sobbing reached his ears as he felt dread come over him as he remembered who this room belonged to. Shit. Kjorn ran towards the room and pried the door open, not that there was much left of it anyways. Looking everywhere for the noise, Kjorn pushed out rubble and spotted blonde hair. Oh my god, Jen. It was nothing short of a miracle. A large piece of metal protected Jen from most of the rubble, finally freeing her. The girl jumped to his arms. They are dead. I heard them. Please don't go. Please don't leave me, please. Her family was. Kjorn looked away as he spotted a lone teddy bear stained with something he did not want to know what it was. Jen, we need to leave. The vault has been attacked and I need to get you somewhere safe. Come on. Jen sobbed as she shook her head. I am not my dad. I can't go. Kjorn kneeled next to her and pulled her closer to him. Yes, you can. I won't leave you here, Jen. But what if we are under attack? I don't think I can survive. Kieran smiled. Then I will protect you, don't worry. I don't want to lose you too. Jen smiled sadly at him as she held his hand. This is not the time to be a sweet talker, big guy. Let's go. I don't want to be here anymore. A soft request that he happily tried to help. Kieran helped her to her feet and noticed how she limped a bit. Many cuts all over her body told him that she was far more hurt than him. As they reached the hallway, a loud gunshot echo. Kieran cursed as he and Jen took cover. Yes, target eliminated. No, there is no one left. Roger, sir, meet you at the overseer's office. Jen's eyes widened as she spotted one of the girls from her class over the body of a guard. Kieran, on the other hand, stared in hatred. The man he was just talking to was dead. He felt his blood boil. Letting go of Jen's hand, he reached for the knife he had awkwardly tucked in on his hip and prepared himself. Kieran grabbed a small rock and threw it towards another side of the room, making the girl look at the noise. Kieran ran with inhumane speed at her and tried to knock her out, but to his surprise, a sharp pain exploded on his left side. She had stabbed him. The Enclave soldier moved the gun towards his head. Kieran had to use his hands to stop the gun, and with the other, stop the knife from getting deeper into his abdomen. Look at you, the star player. Bet I will get to the top of Bragg's list if I kill you. To emphasize her point, she put more pressure on the knife. As Kieran's other hand wavered as A instinctively moved it down, the gun was almost at his temple. The girl grinned as his finger began to slip on the knife, blood and sweat making it hard to hold on. Pluai Iron. From behind them, Jen had grabbed a decent-sized rock and brought it down on the Enclave soldier, making the girl stumble and allowing Kieran to push her off him and struggle the gun off her hands. The girl barely had time to blink as Kieran shot at her head, killing her in one shot. Oh, we killed her, Jen muttered as she brought her hands to her face. I did. It's okay, Jen, you didn't do anything. Let's go, we need to get to the upper apartments. Kieran let out a sigh as he looked down at his wound. Not all that deep from the looks of it. Jen, on the other hand, stared in amazement at it. What on earth? Did he use a stimpak? Was the question that popped into her head as she saw Kieran grab bullets and ammo from the dead bodies. Reaching for Jen's hand once again, the duo began to move quietly out of the lower apartments. Sound of fighting reached their ears as they both flinched at the sound of gunfire. Now, in the main area of the vault, Jen's eyes widened as she looked at her home torn to shreds. Bullets flew through the air as vault security desperately tried to fend off the invaders. Kieran, on the other hand, glared, I won't let this assholes destroy my home. Chapter 3. Hollow Victory. Push them back. Desperate screams echoed all over the vault as vault security fought against the invaders. Shots rang across the room as everyone tried to gain territory. From the sidelines, Kieran and Jen observed the situation. Kieran looked down at his weapon and frowned. Jen the Merced, need you to hide behind that statue. I have to help them. Jen nodded and hid herself. Kieran let out a long sigh and prepared himself. Engaging Nutha, Kieran shot at the head as he felt his fears and disgust at himself change into something more, anger. It was their fault as it happened. Because of them, Mandy was dead and he would be damned if he let them win. It scared him a bit how naturally it flowed to him. His arm seemed to snap to the correct spot as he aimed at his opponent's head, the bullets all hitting their mark. Time seemed to slow down as he watched the bodies fall. Adrenaline took hold of him and he pressed on, Kid. How the fuck? Doesn't matter, thank you. Go hide, we got this. Kieran nodded as he ran back to Jen. Come on, we have to get to the upper apartments. Jen nodded and looked at him warily. You killed them? I did. I try not to think about it. Come on, we have to keep going. Kieran said as they ran past the fighting. Inside the upper apartments, things were eerily quiet, save for a red dot pointing at his head. Wait, Kieran, that you? Get over here, Jen let out a relieved sigh. Do you know him? Kieran nodded slowly. His name is Eric. He was training to be a Vault Ranger last I heard. Maybe Rossman is with him. The old doctor could turn this around, get rid of these people, and put the vault back in order. Eric looked at Jen, then at him. Are you guys all that survived of the lower apartments? Sadly. Eric, what the fuck is going on? Is Rossman with you? The redhead shook his head. Negative. He ran to his room and we heard a large explosion. A gas-masked man said as he approached to place a shotgun on Kieran's hands. He was covered head to toe in blood, Sarge. The sergeant looked at Jen, then at the kid. Shaking his head, he motioned Kieran to follow him. That's Yeti's kid. Where is he? Kieran looked to the side sadly as Jen looked at him with worry. I don't think he made it, Sarge. I tried to search for anyone else, but only Jen survived. The other bodies had been crushed. The sergeant slammed a fist into a wall. Damn it, I knew that Joker my whole life, and now I don't even have time to fucking mourn. Listen, they are going to storm this place. They have tried to reach Rossman's room ever since the explosion started, and they will try to do it again, so stock up on ammo and use that shotgun wisely. Kieran looked down at his new weapon. Eric walked up to him. Listen, could you check up on Jamie for me? Our house was mostly untouched by the explosion. Thanks, man. I'll give you a shout if we spot anyone coming in. If it was mostly untouched, it would be a good place for Jen to rest. Kieran thought as he placed a hand on her shoulder and guided her to the room on the upstairs floor. The stench of alcohol hit his nose. Jamie seemed to be miserable in the middle of her room. You holding up? Eric sent me. Yeah, but I have the worst headache of my life, the girl said, massaging her head with her robot arm. Kieran felt like rolling his eyes, but he did not have time to discuss anyone's private life. Hey, can Jen stay here? I think things are going to get worse. Jamie looked up and smiled at the blonde girl. Of course, she can take the bed if she wants, and I can check on her wounds if needed. I sobered enough after all this bullshit. Kieran. A loud yell came from outside as the sound of gunshots made Jen jump. Running outside, Kieran spotted a small group of the Enclave attacking the sergeant and Eric. But they seemed to be focused on those two, and not paying attention to their surroundings. Kieran unloaded with his shotgun from above their skulls, shattering from the direct strikes. When bullets ran out, Kieran jumped down and slammed the stock of the weapon against their head. Wait, please. The plea made him hesitate and stop for a second. In that split second, a bullet shot him straight in the gut. The sergeant blasted the last one and approached the downed Kieran. He was bleeding a lot. Here, this Stimpack should keep from any internal bleeding and, if you're lucky, maybe close the wound. Nothing I can do about the bullet at the moment. Kieran nodded as he bit his lip to not scream. The Stimpack provided immediate relief as he felt pain dissipate. There you go. Oh, and here. A slap echoed in the room as Kieran held his cheek in shock. Listen here. Every single second counts, kid. You don't feel for them, you don't hesitate anyone that is not your fucking friend is a threat, understood? Kieran nodded dumbly. Good, head to the Overseer's office. We're going to try and find any more survivors. Do not fight if you don't have to, but if you do, show those bastards no mercy. He was handed more ammo for his mission, and with that he was moving once again. Kieran preferred the pistol if he was honest with himself, but he would not lie that the shotgun packed quite a punch. The fight had seemed to die down as most of the Enclave forces were pushed back to the security part of the vault. Kieran spotted out of the corner of his eye 2 Enclave soldiers reloading. Is that a grenade rifle? Yes, I was told to use it on the cafeteria, but something attacked the team there. It seems like someone flanked them from the lower apartments. The one holding the dangerous weapon commented. If he was hit by that thing he was dead, he needed to strike first. He crouched to steady his aim and pressed his finger against the trigger. Bang, holy fuck, James. No. Blood covered the other man as he tried to pinpoint from where the hell he was being attacked. Kieran unloaded his entire magazine into him, his nerves getting the worst of him. Once he knew that they were both dead, he ran towards the place and grabbed the grenade rifle, 2 shots, and he needed to make them count. The path to the Overseer's office was deserted, but they had been here. They had left quite the trail. He spotted the secretary dead along with Sean's friend, the son of the Overseer. Kieran forgot his name. Another thing lost, he mused. If the Overseer was not here, then he supposed that he should go ahead and inform the Sarge about that. His soft steps echoed in the empty halls. It seemed that the vault was so alive, and now distant echoes of gunfire were the only sound that could be heard across his beloved home. He stopped walking, the emotions still too strong for him to process. It was a strange thing how fate worked. If he had not stopped, he would not have heard it. Yelling coming from vault security, ducking behind a desk, he saw the woman that was supposed to be his boss, Chevy, and she looked beyond angry. We have lost too many. John is going to get the Overseer. He has escaped to the hydroponics lab, but we will flush him. You two, I want you on. Kieran had stopped listening. They were going to back the coach. And he was one of them. Kieran reached for the grenade rifle and took aim. He fired, and the eyes of Chevy snapped towards his direction. A hateful green eye glared at him, making Kieran freeze with fear. But the explosion took care of the monster. A single grenade had taken care of most of them. The unfortunate one screamed in pain. Kieran felt like throwing up, but with trembling hands he grabbed his Colt 99 and put them out of their misery. His last 10mm bullet was fired as he stood tall amongst the dead. He looked around for anything else but nothing. Seemed to have survived. Chevy's body was mostly destroyed, but he managed to pull out a key from her body along with what seemed to be a small holotape. The key was his priority. If they had something that could help him turn the tides of the battle, he would take it. So with key in hand, Kieran ran towards the closed door and began to search for anything that might help him. A light machine gun along with plenty of ammo for it was on the desk. He spotted cages with dead vault personnel. He recognized one of the bodies. Johnny, the man he had tackled the night before, was face down on one of the cells. While he did not like the guy, he did not hate him either. Goodbye, Johnny, he said, and it seemed to make the body stir. Wait, holy shit, he's alive. Kieran reached for the master key that Chevy had and opened the cell. Johnny smelled like shit, a mix of alcohol and some drug that Kieran was glad that he could not identify by smell. Flipping to his side, Kieran yelled at him. Oi, you big piece of shit, get up. He slapped him for emphasis. And for catharsis, he managed to get the big guy to sit up slowly. Wah, oh fuck my head. Kieran would have laughed if not for the large bruise on Johnny's head. His vault ball rival glared at him once he could focus. Oh, it's you. Nice to see you too, Johnny. Seeing that you got the shit kicked out of you. I assume you know what's going on, Kieran said as the taller man pushed him away and glared down. I do, and that pirate bitch is going to pay. Kieran would have said that she was already dead, but before he could comment on it, Johnny grabbed the shotgun and ran outside. Kieran let out a sigh. That was mine, he muttered as he left after him. To his surprise, he found Johnny unloading on the corpse, what couldn't finish the job wimp. But better this way. What the fuck, man? How did they get the jump on us this easily? We will have to find out later. The last of them are trying to storm the hydroponics lab, and we can stop them. You up for it? Kieran watched as Johnny narrowed his eyes at him. You know, if you hadn't been so nice to me yesterday. Bah, doesn't matter. I guess that makes you the boss now, huh? Fine, lead the way, star player, but leave the killing to me. Kieran nodded and threw him some ammo. As they left, he could not help but to turn back and stare at Chevy. He hoped it was the adrenaline and the stress messing with his head because he swore that he saw the torn cadaver twitch a little, the destroyed body parts trying to get together once more. Hey, why the fuck are we going to the upper apartments? I thought you needed to get to the hydroponics lab, Johnny said, snapping him out of his small trance. Yeah, but I need to inform Sergeant. Look out. Johnny pulled him to the side as gunfire was launched towards them. Kieran looked inside the upper apartments and spotted the resistance. Kid. They are trying to enter the hydroponics lab through Rossman's room. Usta! He heard someone shout. Johnny did not wait for him as he began to fire at the Patriots. Kieran jumped from behind cover and helped. They opened the door, stopped them. That was Eric, entering the room and clearing it of hostiles. They took some time to gather their breath. I suppose that the big hole in the wall is not supposed to be there, Kieran said as Johnny looked at him like he was a dumbass. I think I spot a way. Whenever you're ready, Linky. Fuck you, Johnny. The walk through the caverns was a quick ordeal. What was not expected was the amount of dead bodies that littered the place. Seems like this dumb fucks caused a cave-in on themselves. Think we can still reach the hydroponics lab in time, Kieran? Worth a shot. Think you can help me move the giant rock there? He said, moving his head towards the large boulder that blocked the door. Johnny injected himself with Psycho and nodded. Hell yeah, I can. Once inside the hydroponics lab, the foliage greeted them. Kieran allowed himself to just enjoy the fresh air for a moment. A welcome change from the metallic smell of blood and the moist of the caves. What he did not enjoy was the gun aimed at his Ehad by the chief of security. Kid, how did you get here? Sarge sent me. Something about Dr. Rossman being here to help us fight off the invaders. The man with the mustache that seemed in charge of the group here seemed to be surprised by this. He turned to one of his teammates and then back to Kieran. Rossman left approximately 20 minutes. The only one here is the Overseer, and if you're up for defending, then we will welcome the help. They have almost managed to cut through our last line of defense, so this is a last stand? A slow nod was his only answer. Johnny did not seem all that bothered by this. The brute downed down what looked like to be buff out, and grinned at the door. Kieran reloaded his weapon and walked towards the entrance. They would storm the place, but if he timed it right, he could mow them down in an instant. The light machine was his only chance. He could hear how one of the doors fell, and that chance of winning began to grow ever smaller. He could see the fire from the blowtorch they were using to cut down the last defense. Time seemed to crawl as slowly the flame reached the last lock. A soft click echoed in the hydroponics lab and all hell broke loose. About a dozen men stormed inside the laboratory on the first wave. The outnumbered resistance fired with everything they had. Kieran felt his muscles cry in pain under the recoil of his weapon. It was almost deafening how loud the symphony of destruction was. In just a short minute, the assault was over and they stood victorious. Reload, someone yelled as Kieran cursed as he looked down at his weapon. Empty. Reaching for the grenade rifle, he slowly reloaded as he waited for his moment. The next wave of soldiers began to pour inside. This time they were more switching briefly to his pistol. Kieran helped with those that got close enough for his weapon to be effective, but the resistance was being pushed back. Not yet. He could not pull the trigger just yet. Hand over the Overseer. A familiar voice yelled as Bragg walked into the hydroponics lab confident in his victory. Kieran aimed, and with the same type of round that killed the coach's sister, he fired. Bragg's body was torn to shreds by the impact of the explosion, along with those that Kieran assumed were his inner circle. To the Enclave recruits, this was something they had not anticipated, not trained in what to do in this situation, instead of seizing the opportunity now that the way was open for them. The Enclave recruits turned tail and ran, because no matter how much Bragg said the young kids were not true Enclave, Kieran watched as the resistance gave pursuit to the retreating forces. He felt tired and sad, but the day had been won at the cost of everything he had ever known and loved. Johnny, for his part, looked pleased. Fuck yeah. That was awesome, man. I didn't know you had it in you to be so cool, man. He slapped Kieran in the back, making the other teen grumble in pain. How, you two? I need you to check on the Overseer. I have to round up what remains of those bastards. Tell him that we won. He didn't feel like a winner, but sure he would go see the big man. He was handed a key to the lower part of the hydroponics lab, and with that, the man left. Letting out a sigh, he walked towards the door and unlocked. Rust fell to the ground as the door whined at being opened for the second time that day. From the looks of it, the place they were in was a secret room. I never knew this place existed, Kieran muttered as he stared at the dark cavern that was the secret room. The stairs, made out of concrete, had faded and eroded thanks to the passage of time. He felt more like if he was walking into an ancient tomb rather than a part of the vault, and there at the bottom was the overseer. Crying softly, Albert Christensen seemed to be muttering to himself about his son, his wife, and his friends, gone. But I will show them they have not won. Kieran felt sympathy for the man. Everyone had lost something today, Overseer Christensen. They sent me to tell you that we have won. The vault is under our control again. It was an exaggeration. They had killed the commanding officers, but Kieran was sure that there was still some fighting on the vault. His words did not comfort the overseer. He turned to glare at him. Won? Half of the vault is dead. The others are either traitors or wounded. Taking in you tribal fucks was a mistake. But that doesn't matter now. I just can't believe decades of progress, decades of keeping this vault safe, all gone, and now we are infested with traitors. Our generators are blown to hell. Almost every living area is ruined, so no kid, we did not win anything. But I will show that Bragg, I will show him what happens. He slammed his desk, making the old wood splinter. Kieran looked at the cables and the machine. A big red button had been pressed and a red light illuminated the room. What did you do? You know what this vault is, kid? An experiment they wanted to see how long it would take for someone here to break, and that someone is me. The reactor has begun to melt. It will create an explosion comparable to a small nuclear bomb. He won't get what he wants. Those bastards will all go up in flames. Kieran looked at him in disbelief. What the fuck? No, you can't do that. Stop the explosion, you are the overseer, you can. I can't do jack, kid, this it. The end of Blood Vault 18. Kieran tried to plead. Please, this is my home, you can't just… You are not from here. You are a tribal, and look at where our kindness got us. Escape while you can, kid. I will go down with the ship, hee. I owe it to my son. Alarms blared around them as the reactor began to self-destruct. Kieran walked back up before stopping. Grabbing the shotgun from Johnny, he shot the overseer in the head. As the body fell, Kieran could not control his emotion and shot him again. Bastard, coward. Kieran wished he could still hear him, but time, like always, was running out for them. Johnny grabbed the shotgun back and looked at him up and down. You good, dude? If there's anyone from your family alive, we have to get them to safety. We need to leave the vault now. Johnny shrugged. My folks are dead. We can leave now if you want. Or is there someone you want to save? He wanted to save Mandy, Sean, and Kira, but that was not possible now, was it? Kira was probably dead somewhere while his family was crushed under piles of rubble. But he could still help some of the people he cared about. Come on, let's run to the upper apartments. Jen and the others are there. Kieran bolted out of the room. The alarms seemed to be ignored as most of the people were still trying to recuperate from what had happened. The reactor is going to explode. We need to leave the vault. Kieran yelled at the top of his lungs, making some of the residents quickly run towards the exit of the vault. Slamming the door open, Kieran ran towards Eric's apartment. The redhead looked at him in shock. Jesus, dude, you look. No time for that. Grab Jamie and meet me at the vault door. We have to leave. The reactor is going to explode. Gut. WHHF. That was Jen who walked up to him and grabbed his arm. No, wait. You mean we have to leave? Johnny snorted at that. If you don't want to fucking die. Yes, come on, we have to go. Kieran grabbed her hand, but Jen shook her head and let go of his hand. No, I can't. I will die out there. I am not my dad. I am not this. Kieran placed a hand on her shoulder. You're right, you are not, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you have to live. It's what he would have wanted, and don't worry about the outside. I will be there for you. Jen managed to nod numbly. Okay then, I will follow you then. A large explosion shook the vault. Shit, we need to go. Anyone know of a shortcut to the vault door? We can take the maintenance elevator. Eric yelled as the small group began to run towards the exit. Oh, there. Just get inside and push the panel. It's going to be a bit cramped. Kieran did as he was told and let out a short sigh of relief as it began to go up. The entire group seemed to be out of breath except for Kieran, who was doing fine, something that did not go unnoticed by his friends. You are fucking weird, man. Did you inject yourself with stim packs when we're not looking? Johnny was the one that spoke first. Kieran gave him a look. What do you mean? I only had one when Sarge injected me back at the upper apartments. No, dude, I saw you get shot twice, you barely fucking blinked, and now here you are walking like nothing happened. If you have meds, hand them over, we have to share. Kieran frowned. I don't have anything on me, Johnny. For fuck's sake, you can feel free to search me, and I didn't get shot. What are you talking about? Jen looked at his side and the dried blood that drenched his torn vault suit. The blonde shook her head and saved that information for later. The doors opened, and the conversation was cut short as Eric looked around with his rifle. No one here. We have to go through the robotics lab. Opening the doors and running towards the exit. A soft cough reached the ears of Jen, who stopped Kieran. "Do you hear that?" Another short cough followed as the two ran towards the noise. To their surprise, Dr. Rossman was bleeding out over a broken machine. "Gog, are you okay?" Kieran stabilized him as the doctor blinked in surprise. "KK, kid." Blood poured from his lips, a loud bloodstain on his chest. The bullet had torn his chest, and Kieran could see bits of what appeared to be the doctor's lung dripping from the wound. "They got me good, the robots. I tried to." Another bloody cough interrupted him as Kieran pulled out a stim pack. "No, I don't have time left. Give me your Pip-Boy." Kieran did as he was told as the doctor's hands slowly began to write a coordinate. "Get there. It's a safe place." Kieran nodded as he smiled at the doctor. The doctor's eyes began to fade. "You need to know." The life faded, and the words that the doctor wanted to say were left unspoken. Jen fought back tears as Kieran looked down at the coordinates. It wasn't that far from the vault. At least they had some direction on where to go now. Regrouping with the rest, Kieran felt the vault shake as the explosion became more frequent. "What the... Dude, who the fuck is that?" Surrounded by corpses, a figure stared at them. Kieran blinked in surprise. "Ben?" "Good to see you, friend. You missed a great battle." "And no, that is not my name anymore," Ben commented as he smiled at Kieran. The others all looked at the bloody makeshift spear on his hands. Kieran, on the other hand, snapped his fingers as he realized something. "Oh, wait a minute. It's Kurtz. Like the guy in your comic. Talk about repressed memories. Look, I would love to hear all about it, but now is not the time. We have to leave. Dr. Rossman gave me coordinates for somewhere safe before he died. Come on." As they got to the exit, the doors had yet to open. Amongst the crowd, Kieran spotted Sarge and the others that had helped him fend off the Enclave. He wanted to go over and tell them about the safe house. But the massive mechanism began to open, the noise almost deafening as the people began to push and shove each other into the unknown. The vault shook as explosions became more and more violent. Kieran grabbed Jen's hand. He nodded at the other. "Stick together." As they ran out into the caverns, Kieran spotted fully armored Enclave soldiers preparing to fight. The ones with guns tried to damage them, but unlike the recruits in the vault, the fully trained Enclave soldiers mowed down the Recitants in a matter of seconds, their large Gatling guns cutting through everyone in seconds. A lone soldier pointed his weapon at the group. Kieran thought that it was the end, but the sergeant jumped towards the man, wrestling him to the ground. Sacrificing his own life to save theirs, Kieran felt sad because, after all this time, he did not know his name. He thought he would have time later to ask. The faint light of the outside reached them as the screams of those behind them grew faint. Kurt opened the wooden doors that served as a disguise for the vault, and smiled as the sun began to rise in the horizon. Kieran and the other joined Kurtz by the cliff. Vertibirds and plasma shots seemed to decorate the valley. Eric cursed raiders. The skull-painted raiders were grabbing everything that was not bolted through the floor. The one overseeing everyone turned to grin at them. What's the rush, Vault Dweller?" The man twirled a energy weapon that Kieran did not recognize at them, making the group tense up. Kieran looked behind them as a large explosion shook the ground. "This place is going to explode, so, unless you want to die, you should run." The raiders simply grinned. "Sure you do that. Boys, pack everything up. We are leaving." The raiders all ran towards the vertibirds and leapt into the sky. "Fuck everyone, run." Kieran yelled as he spotted a small road at his right. Kieran could hear the ground begin to crack beneath them as the air grew hotter, smaller explosion that seemed like small samples of the one that was to come. They ran for what seemed to be hours, until they reached a small gas station. Kurtz pointed at the place. "In there." The group ran inside as the reactor reached its breaking point. The largest explosion that had been seen in centuries destroyed the mountain, swallowing the very earth. Like a volcano fire rained down on the earth as the large blast destroyed everything on its path. Kieran felt himself being flung back as Jen held tightly to him. Everything seemed to be white as his ears rang. Kieran groaned as he tried to look around. Jamie and Eric were together, while Kurtz and Johnny seemed to be doing just fine for the moment. Kurtz waited for everything to calm down before he stood up. "The explosion has stopped, for now," Kieran muttered as Jen sobbed into his shoulder. He held her, wishing he could break down like her, to grieve all that he had lost, but as the eyes of the group turned to him and his Pip-Boy Kieran pushed the feelings aside. Letting go of Jen, he stood up and looked at Kurtz. "We can't stay here," the man nodded. "Agreed, the map that Rossman gave you is our best option. We should follow it for now." Johnny had begun to pale as the effect that the drugs had on him began to fade. "Oh, shh. I feel bad. I don't think I can move." Jamie groaned as she tried to sit up. Eric helped her to her feet. Eric looked at Kieran. "We should rest here, Kieran." Kieran shook his head. "No, it's too close to the vault, and our reactor was basically a nuclear bomb. I might not be a scientist, but I don't think it's a good idea to be here. And besides, it's not that far. All we have to do is walk another mile." Eric let out a sigh and nodded. As the group walked towards the unknown, Chiron rested his hand on a sign that was on the road, Pinehaven.